Greetings, friends and allies. Time for another episode of Swerve podcast, where the good vibes resonate. We amplify what truly matters. I'm Soundwave, and I'm here to remind you that even the smallest spark can brighten the darkest days. Remember, friends, when life gets tough, be like Laserbeak. Perch somewhere warm and let your friends carry you for a while. We all need a recharge now and then. Now then, let's tune those frequencies to kindness and let's spread positivity across the universe. Let's make the galaxy a little brighter, one spark at a time.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today we are diving into IDW Transformers Shattered Glass Part 2. I'm Onyx Prime and with me are my wonderful, talented, and fabulous co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Killobyte.
And I'm Clickbait.
And with us today for our comic review we have Hexamis.
Hi, I'm Hex.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Moving on with our comic discussion for today's episode takes us to Shattered Glass Part 2. And as always, spoiler warning. So if you haven't read it already, we highly recommend you go and read them, come back and listen to the podcast. With that, Clickbait, do you mind giving us the facts? And Hexmas, do you mind giving us the trivia? And Killobyte, can you give us the summary and Patreon shout out in that order?
Ooh,
Please and thank you.
absolutely. Fast facts are my
Awesome.
favorite kind of facts. Anywho, number of comics we'll be discussing today is 5. Issue 1 was released August 31st of 2022, and the last issue was released December 14th of that same year. Our writers for these issues are Danny Lore. Our artists are Andrew Griffith, Marcelo Mater, Dan Kana, Guido Guidi, with inks by Gigi Dutrix, Matt Frosset, and colors by John Paul Bovey, Thomas Deere, and Ed Peary. Earth names are hard. That name right there. Anyways, yes.
Trivia time. In issue 1, we see that Ratbat makes an appearance as a senator in the building during the attack. However, in Shattered Glass Part 1, Ratbat is shown as a protester outside the building. It may be possible for there to have been a time skip between the first and second flashback scenes, or each flashback is being told through an unreliable narrator point of view, as we've seen in Part 1 of this Shattered Glass series. In Issue 2, one of Soundwave's underground radio songs lyrics are, "I'll be there for you when the rain starts to pour," is a snippet of "I'll Be There For You" by the Rembrandts, the main theme song of the TV show Friends. I'll be there for you. I can't sing anymore. And issue 5, spoiler alert, there is no in-comic explanation as to why Ultra Magnus's body swap with Optimus turns him blue, as it seems to be counterproductive to the idea of him pretending to be Prime? I don't know.
He maybe prefers blue. Who's to say?
Why are you blue?
I know I do.
It could have just been the lighting.
No, but
Oh, my Primus.
we'll talk about that. Now for some summaries. After the loss of Gold City, the Autobots plan their next move, but some of its members are non-content on how Optimus is leading. Will this cause a problem? We shall see. But meanwhile, the Decepticons now in control of Gold City prepare to fortify and increase their numbers before they try another bold attack to protect the Awoken Titan. Dun dun dun! And as always, this information has been taken from the wiki. And a very special shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for your support. You're all amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate every single one of you. You guys rock. Shall we
You
get started?
And you.
We
And you,
shall.
and you, and you.
Get
And now we can get started.
Diving into issue 1, we follow Ultra Magnus and how he came to power and helped Optimus take over Cybertron. A lot of flashbacks before the war with a huge cast mixed in with current events from previous installments, such as how are they going to deal with the recently awoken Titan by Goldbug, theories or favorite scenes, because there's a lot happening here, and I want toys of all of them.
I do too. That's one of my main thoughts when I was reading this is, man, they really did not fully utilize the toy possibilities of this comic series.
They have the mold. The mold's already there.
I know.
We could have had Rodimus with a mustache.
We do.
We
We
did get Rodimus.
Did
we? Oh.
We did.
It's one of the last ones we
Drift,
got.
Also,
Drift is so beautiful. He needs.
Yeah, but we don't even have a regular Drift, so.
I know,
That's
but
true.
that's why he needs one especially more.
Yeah, I really enjoyed spotting the different takes on characters such as Drift, the Wreckers, Senator Shockwave. It was really fun to see the color palette switch either like dramatically or just super brightly.
Like Thundercracker.
Like Thundercracker, yes. Thundercracker
He was
great.
so bright.
But my boy Skywarp
Neon green.
from part 1 didn't make it to this one, unfortunately.
No, he did not. No.
What did we think about the scene with Ultra Magnus fighting Optimus, which I thought was pretty fun? I wasn't expecting Prime to lose so quickly.
I like
That was really cool.
Orion is talking to Ultra Magnus about how Ultra Magnus is like hiding himself and who he like really is, and he makes the hologram on him warp, and it actually looks like a very corrupted JPEG. Like the artifact is like broken down. Little bits like that I really, really like. Maybe it's the artist in me, but I thought that was super, super cool.
They really paid a lot of attention to detail in this series, like doing, the JPEG thing and calling back to a lot of stuff, even that was in the first half of this series that came out. And it was super cool, and I loved eventually getting to see that Magnus was just as corrupted physically as he was on the inside. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, getting very Skeletor vibes off him.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
Legend vibes.
Big meanie.
It was very interesting because at the beginning when we get introduced to Magnus and his squad, Optimus puts him in his place just fine, and then when we're in recent times, Magnus just wipes the floor with him. So I was not expecting that, which made Optimus feel kind of weak. Because at the beginning I was very excited because I don't know, I prefer Optimus evil than Megatron. I don't know why, but I think Optimus is a better villain.
Wow,
interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
no, they should always do this. Just Optimus be evil.
Oh
Let's
my
go.
god.
I feel like
It was
he
fun.
is really brutal.
He is.
Yes.
He is. I was going to piggyback on what you said, both Hex and Kilo. It was really fun to see how they took the character's core attributes and then twisted them, because it very clearly was not just a simple swap of, okay, we're going to make Optimus act like Megatron and Megatron act like Optimus, and we're literally just switching the characters' places.
There's more
It was
depth.
not that. It was much more depth. Optimus kept his speech pattern, but he turned it much more twisted and manipulative and evil. And then Megatron kept his speech pattern and his loyalty and his drive, but it was much more tailored towards his people as opposed to the power that he lusted after. And so it was really, really fun to watch the care that they took with this series.
Yes.
Exactly.
I had that exactly in my notes. You stole
Oh, no.
me.
I had
Wow.
You reading notes?
Moving
no.
us forward to the next issue brings us back to present day with the perspective of Blaster and the Wreckers. Slicer and Rodimus, interesting to note that it's Rodimus, not Hot Rod, which either means he had the Matrix at one point, or he preemptively gave himself that name, which I wouldn't be surprised with. Anyway, they're tasked with finding Soundwave and shutting down his radio waves. Thoughts? Favorite scenes?
Blaster was kind of annoying.
He's
Wow!
funny, but
I
he's
found
funny.
it differently. I found it fun with all his comments
such
about
a-
like here comes the
Blah,
one
blah,
more
blah,
man,
blah,
and
blah,
you don't
blah.
have enough rock. That was great.
It was fun, but
Comparing
I was
everything
like,
to a play or music.
I know,
like,
it was
the
funny.
one guy's not taking it seriously, but kind of fun. You know, the funny guy who gets murdered first.
Yeah.
I
But like,
will say, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I get that Blaster's a music guy, but oh my gosh, the pun lineup just didn't stop. It didn't give you a breather. It was just like,
It was great.
oh my god,
Whammy.
Blaster, come on,
Whammy,
man.
good.
whammy.
But it kind of gave you that same kind of level of exasperation that all his coworkers and the other wreckers had too, which was really fun.
I was gonna say, I feel like this is where we start to see a lot of. I'm conflicted because it's nice because a lot of these characters are kind of giving an internal monologue, which is nice because I like to see what they're thinking. But it starts to be a lot, I think.
Okay, that's another
Stop
note. Who's stealing my
copying me.
notes? Come on. I literally put that down
Sorry.
too.
Great minds think alike. I don't know.
I liked that part just because it read as more of almost a novel or a visual novel than a comic, which for someone like me who loves the expose and the depth and all the information possible, I loved it. I thought it was great. It really let you get inside their heads and see how they were handling the events and the trauma of
what
the
you did there?
war.
Lining this up for
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, I am
Just
lining
give
up
me
for
a
it.
full-fledged
Stop reading my
novel, then.
notes.
Yeah.
Stop reading my notes. But yeah, I liked
Getting ahead
the.
of ourselves.
But
I
aren't
know,
comics
I like-
visual novels because they're visual and they
There's a
have
difference. There's a difference between a visual novel and a comic.
What about a graphic novel?
So
That's also
clickbait.
different. Hi, what's up?
Welcome to the novel podcast where we describe every type of novel.
Yeah, right. So clickbait, were you excited about the end of this issue? Because Blaster gets a mafia ending, gets taken to the desert, shot and killed. But I tell you what, it was super sad to see that his cassettes were also killed. And he mentioned like they've been the quietest they've ever been, and I cannot hear them anymore. I was like, oh, my spark.
It was so sad. It was really sad because
That hurt.
poor guy. But also, then Drift showed up at the end, and he was really pretty. So
Drift was what?
it was Drift. He showed up at the end. I think we're in issue 3 currently. Is what you're
No,
talking
2.
about?
We're issue
Or
2.
two.
Issue
Who?
2. So it's Slicer and
No.
Rodimus. Yep.
Hold
Yeah, it
up.
was Slicer and Watermus. Yeah,
Yep.
I have
Oh.
a question.
Anyways,
yeah. Go ahead.
Was
Clickbait
there-
was like murder, but cuteness.
they blurred together. They blurred. I read most of them this solar cycle, so they kind of blurred together.
Was there any reason that because Slicer is Wheeljack, yes or
Mhm.
no?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a
His-
reason
yeah.
for the name change or?
That's
That-
the end.
Factor.
Okay, well,
Sure.
It's
And
like
that is the
Bumblebee.
reason.
okay.
I'll find an answer for you. How about that?
Look at you go.
Because that was the
Look
one
at
thing
you
that
go.
kind of tripped me up. Because with Rodimus, I know that we talked about it before. I think he was pompous enough that he was like, "I want my name to be Rodimus now, not Hot Rod. Look at me, I'm beautiful." But then I got confused with Slicer because they're just, I don't know.
I think they might have used. I think in G2 there was a character that used the same mold as Wheeljack, and they called it Slicer. And so in here they're like, "Hey, we're gonna use the same color. It's Shattered Glass." So then they just kept the name for this version of Wheeljack.
Interesting.
Well, okay, so it says here G1. There
Is
was
it
a
in G1?
Decepticon
Okay.
named Slicer that used the Wheeljack mold.
Huh.
So they
Okay.
made the Shattered Glass version so that he would be
Sure.
on the other side. Sure.
Probably just trying to
But
keep the
then-
name.
Yeah,
Trying to keep the
yeah.
name. Makes sense. And then they said that it's a nod between him being so flippity floppity on sides to the Armada Wheeljack. But-
I don't feel like that, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Following up with the next issue, speaking of which, continuing the events with Slicer's perspective, who is on a mission to visit Goldbug and try to steal/capture Starscream's spark that can either communicate or control Metroplex while using Blaster's head as a compass. Interesting plan. How well does it go?
Medium.
And like a medium rare or like a...
It depends on your
Fully
perspective
covered.
because it kind of
Okay.
like started. It got the job done, but it also kind of started, quote unquote, corrupting him with Decepticon beliefs. So
But the Blaster head, huh?
yeah, well, the
Love
Blaster
that.
head had the Soundwave voice
Mm-hmm.
that Blaster had downloaded, and it was Soundwave sentiment, his therapy, if you will, that actually started to have an effect. It made him self-reflect, and he came to realize that maybe this wasn't what he wanted after all. And, you know, push came
So
to
maybe
shove.
it wasn't corruption. Maybe he always wanted this. And
Okay, but I was talking from the point of the object of the mission. It corrupted the objective of the mission, but it turned him into a better guy.
Well, he still
maybe
killed
I'm the problem.
Decepticons for the mission, so I
It
don't know.
depends on your point of view, Killobyte.
Yes.
So, kind of piggyback off of what you said, Clickbait, about Slicer talking or listening to Blaster / Soundwave.
What they would call
I really-
propaganda.
Yeah, I really like that he was, as he's also internally monologuing, he's talking about how Ratchet's view of the past and Soundwave's view of the past differ entirely, but they're both reflecting on the past.
Mhm.
It was just really nice to see him truly kind of contemplating the differences between them and what's going on around him. But speaking of Ratchet, I also really liked his workshop, although it's really gruesome. The
Oh,
quote
yeah.
of winning and losing is all the same for my workbench. I'll be putting the pieces back together no matter what. Really kind of hit hard in terms of war, I guess. And it's like, "Dang, that's quite deep. Oh my goodness." It kind of made me sit there and just kind of think for a minute.
There were a lot of moments like that where they really did not shy away from, oh yeah, no, this is what war is like, and you're like, oh my god.
They are waxing
What?
poetic with this
They
war.
were.
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
Hey, Primus Man. All right. No. How did we feel about Jetfire coming into the picture, stomping in Goldbug, fully justified, by the way, but then Slicer helping the Wreckers capture Jetfire?
Interesting.
It's kind of
Interesting
tricky because Slicer's all over the place,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel like there's an anchor point
He's not- he hasn't
to
quite
his
fully turned
decisions.
yet.
Yeah, because
yeah.
he wanted to help Blaster. It didn't work out. Rodimus was there, so he's like, we'll just eliminate him. Then he came here. He has a mission, but I'm also gonna pretend to be with Goldbug. But then I'm gonna call the Wreckers. Goldbug gets stumped. Wreckers appear. Okay, I'm with the Wreckers. Soundwave appears. Okay, I'm with Soundwave because the Wreckers would have let me die. And so I'm like, I'm kind of confused on what your whole deal, Slicer, is.
I'm not.
Too
He's on the
much.
side that keeps him alive.
Yeah, which is fair
Whatever
for
lets
a
them win.
wrecker, for a bot who's in between kind of a merc.
I kind of think
Makes sense.
behind the scenes, I think they might have written him that way to like quickly help the story along. 'Cause they probably tried to fit so much into so little because it's just 2 issues. So they probably were realizing that like the deadline is coming and they might have had to like hurry things along as best they can. That's just speculation. That's just my 2 cents on that. I don't know if that's actually what happened, but I guess that would make sense for me. But it's still weird.
Yeah.
It is. All right, I'm gonna move us to the 4th issue, which has us following Flame War, who is sort of the leader of a group called the Rising Sea. This feels like a nod to Team Stream from the IDW 2019 continuity, but moving us forward. Unlike the rest of the group, Flame War looks very similar to her non-Shattered Glass self. Interesting. Anyway, Megatron hires them for a mission. What's the mission?
Sit tight.
The
That was
mission
the original mission.
The Decepticon cause. He doesn't really hire them. He kind of invites them to join the cause.
Yeah.
He did
And
tell
then-
them to kind of wait for instructions, and then Flame War just got impatient. They're like, nah.
Yeah,
let's go
then
now.
Flame
Gotta
War went
go.
off on her own, and she was like, you know what?
Which very matches her attitude from her non-Shattered Glass version.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is
That's
just
all-
Flame War.
It's
That's what we're
just like
establishing.
Flame War.
It's just
That's what we're
Flame War.
establishing.
Yeah, it's
Too
just
cute
Flame
to
War.
change.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't mess with the original You don't mess with the original.
Recipe. The original
Hey, if there's
recipe.
nothing wrong, don't fix it. There we go.
Onyx is
Cute.
cut off for tonight. He's had enough to
So-
drink.
Things start going south when they spot Rodimus. Why?
Mhm.
Because he's a murderer.
He
Okay, well, if I'm getting
eliminated.
cut off.
What is their name? The Rising Sea? No.
Cannonball.
Yeah,
Cannonball from the
Cannonball.
Rising Sea.
Who had really, really fun artwork on his legs. Was an entire note in and of itself on my sheet.
I will say during this bit, maybe I'm not super smart, but I had a bit of a hard time identifying the flashbacks. I feel like
It took-
I was reading and then I was like,
the red
Wait,
yeah,
panel
they should have
background are the
changed it.
flashbacks.
yeah, they
Yeah.
should have had some signifier because I was reading the internal monologue, as there are. There's a lot of them. And then it took me a couple pages to be like, oh wait, this isn't current events. Wait a minute.
Yeah. That's how I felt reading the first issue with Ultra Magnus, too. I was like, okay, which one of these are the
Yes.
flashback? Which one's the current
Yeah.
day? Because they would line up next to each other, too. Sometimes it's like,
yeah.
a little bit
It
more
was definitely
indicator.
difficult.
Yeah, either put like a little filter on it so like the art is slightly different color. Like the red background for this one was the indicator, but
Mm-hmm.
it was still subtle, and I thought that was just red lights in the room or scene.
Yeah, it doesn't help that they're
Yeah.
fighting the same characters as well.
Right, yeah.
So
It does not. It does not help.
I do like that we see Cannibal. I think Cannibal was a. I don't think they appeared in the Cybertron series, but they might have been a toy, part of the toy line. But they recently got a toy too, in the Velocitron line, in the new
part of the
version of the
Star
Velocitron. Yeah, they're part of the Star Seeker line. So I'm glad they're here, and now I gotta find a toy because I was looking for it, but I haven't found it.
Oh my gosh. I'll
But
keep an
Windblade
optic
is here,
out for
and I
you.
love the new colors. But I
Oh,
prefer
you had
red.
a
Yeah.
note of that too. Yes, she looks so good. Stop stealing
There's
my
so
notes.
many characters
No,
there.
you've been stealing mine all night.
You've been stealing mine.
Onyx, they're fighting again.
I know, we'll put them in a corner. I'm going to push us to our last issue, which the fight continues over Metroplex with the perspective of Soundwave, the bot who believes everyone has a little good in them, attempts to stop whatever secret procedure Ultra Magnus is planning with Optimus
Dun, dun,
Prime
dun.
and Ratchet, but he finds a little help along the way. Slicer, thoughts, theories, what's going to happen next?
So much happens. Soundwave can read minds, which is super cool.
Ah,
Well,
nice,
he doesn't
nice.
necessarily.
Doesn't he do that originally though? Like
He does that
normally?
in the 2005 run.
Okay.
I don't
reads
think he did it
emotions.
in the 2019 run.
He did
Okay.
not. I thought
Sad.
it was cool how they handled it though. Like he's not reading minds, he's reading vibrations and kind of
Mhm.
interpreting those.
Good
Yeah,
And I don't know
vibes
if
or
that's how
bad
they
vibes,
do it.
you know?
Yeah, I don't know if that's how they do it in the 2005 continuity, but it was really cool because he's mostly picking up on like thought, pictures, and emotions, and not. He starts picking up on
Which
more and
makes
more thoughts
sense
as
for
we go,
robots,
as
you
he
know, that
gets
would be
to
easy
know
to
the
do.
mind. Exactly, yeah. It was
Tuning
really
into
cool.
the different frequencies is a really
Mhm.
cool, quote unquote, explanation for that ability. I think it's really, really fun.
Yes, it makes sense for robots.
I like Soundwave a lot. I think he's really great.
I know,
He's
me
really
too, and I
wholesome
love
and
his
he's
I
little
love him.
bandana.
Even when he's fighting someone, he's like, "Okay, I'm not trying to kill you. I'm just trying
I
to
know.
incapacitate you. That's it."
I'm like,
So
buddy,
sweet.
no, they're gonna come
Well,
get you.
No.
Which I thought it was interesting because I feel like that's his normal way in the normal timeline. He always incapacitates everywhere. He doesn't really fight. So him doing it here was like, well, this is just the same, just a little bit more annoying because now you're super nice. At least for me,
Yeah.
it was kind of
Yeah,
like,
just
why do you
Just
have
because
to be
he's
so
nice, he's
bow on it.
annoying.
Yeah, like
He literally
I don't
has a
know. I
bow
would
on
have
him.
liked if he, he
bandana.
had some karate move because he has the bandana or something. You know?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Some like self-defense.
Yeah, he already
jujitsu.
has what's the thing the humans call wear that's all white, the
the gi.
gi. Yeah, he already has. He's all white, so he already has it.
Oh
And he has
my
the
he
bandana.
is.
So he's a green belt. He's
He's
ready
gonna
to
be
go.
all Kai of Cobra. Kai of Python. I don't know what the Earth term is.
But Kai.
So
I
they
thought-
discover Ultra Magnus switched bodies with Optimus Prime and even had time for a redeco.
Whoa.
Why?
Yeah,
What's going on?
more toys.
Did he switch bodies?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, and then he was like, Soundwave was like, oh, that's not Optimus. Well, first he was like, that's not Magnus. Starscream's mind is inside, or the Titan, or whatever residual there is.
You are all over the place. You good there, bud?
What?
Someone's in there.
What? No, that's because he found Magnus's body first, right? Soundwave did?
Magnus's
Yeah.
body.
Yeah,
collapsed.
the one that Optimus is inside. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, and then Optimus. Yes, Optimus. Thank you. Optimus was inside. I got distracted because I remember reading the text boxes, and all I could see was the text boxes in my mind that talked about Starscream's screaming.
Oh,
Someone
yeah.
got sicker on the brain. What's not surprising?
Oh my God.
Listen, listen, and then he sees Optimus's body / Magnus, and he goes, "Oh, that's not Optimus. Magnus is inside there, and that's not great."
It's
But at least he's discombobulated.
It seems weird because, like, I feel like Magnus would be more strong in his Magnus suit, wouldn't he? Because he took down Prime.
Well,
But like,
that's
he
what they were
wants the
saying.
image of a
But-
Prime.
Because he said, he's like, I'm not used to this barbaric frame. And he was talking about the larger frame he's not used to. And I can't remember who it was, but he's like, what do I
Well-
call you? Ultra Magnus? or Optimus, is because you're not really sure who
Uh-huh.
it is, or if it's both somehow meshed into one, like some weird Frankenstein, which I think is really interesting.
And also, the decision's kind of weird in itself. Like, why do you need
Right.
Optimus at all? Like, if you're the leader, then they'll follow you. Like, you
But
know.
the idea of it. Because
I think-
Ultra Magnus is insecure at his core. That's what they're trying to point out, is that he doesn't think that he can lead unless he is Optimus, because that's what he's been told to
Right. I
believe.
think that's what they've been
Still-
trying to.
Yeah.
At
It's
least
still
Optimus's
the impact
body's-
of...
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's
no, I
not
was-
Optimus, it's his image.
Yeah, it's what he conveys.
Mm-hmm.
At least for the coloring, the Ultra Magnus Shattered Glass toy, when he doesn't have his armor, he is blue and he is a recolor of Optimus. So I'm assuming that's what they're going there, where it's like this is
Right.
what he looks on the underneath of that armor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they painted it so fast, but magic.
Yeah. And we get an epic showdown between Soundwave and Ultra Magnus Prime, however you want to say it.
Ultra Prime?
Because, I don't know.
Is it a
Soundwave
showdown or
nearly-
more of like stumbling?
It's well, it's artful stumbling, really. Soundwave nearly being killed, but had some help from Slicer. With Starscream's spark saved by Jetfire, the threat of Metroplex is no more, and the battle for the Titan ends. And Soundwave gives us one last broadcast, and the last issue ends. Though it feels like there could be more, however, living in the future and the now, we know that this is the last time we'll see of this Shattered Glass story. Final thoughts, feelings.
The only thing I want to circle back to that I didn't get a chance to say earlier was back in Flame Wars issue when she was talking about how she was dealing with seeing Rodimus again, who's the source of like a lot of her anguish and anger and sorrow, how they dealt with her internal monologue of those feelings and how she went through like different grief stages as she was dealing with that. And it was, again, cool to see them deal with a very real subject in comic form. I thought that was really cool. And also the art was really pretty all throughout this whole thing.
Yes, I agree. I do want to point out that Slipstream is red. I love it. There's no biases at all. There's
wow.
nothing to do with the color red, right? There's
Wow.
Suspicious. I'm suspicious.
I do want to say that these comics do feel darker than what we're used to in the normal timeline, because a lot of bots don't really die unless they're like a background bot. In this one, it was like every other issue or like every other page almost, like something was happening or somebody was getting hurt, somebody was dying.
I like it.
So in my mind is like, okay, so the normal run of comics is like nobody dies, everybody's saved, everybody's protected. Shattered Glass, everybody's dead, everybody dies.
Everyone's on the
difference
No one's
between that, right?
saved.
Because if they change their knives or not, okay, Shattered Glass, everything has to die. I thought that was funny.
Fantastic. Any other final thoughts, or should we move to the next segment?
My favorite segment.
There's some bias in there.
Oh no!
Let's get it over with.
I didn't say it
All
was
right,
the
Clickbait,
best segment
you
this
have the
time. I just said it was
floor.
my favorite. It is time for the biased best segment of the comic podcast. It is time for Clickbait's Quick Quotes, where we not so quickly go over my favorite quotes of the issues. Anyways, starting with issue number 1, our first quote is from Jazz, and he is talking about being a part of the Wreckers, and he says, "You heard the boss, boys. Wreck and ruin." And then
Classic.
our next classic, hence why it is in there. My second quote comes from issue number 4 with our favorite gal, Flame War, when she's dealing with confronting Rodimus. And she's talking about how as Rodimus is killing Hailstorm, I think his name is, she says, "I think Rodimus is laughing, but the explosion is too loud for me to be sure." And then when she makes Slipstream drop her and she falls back towards Rodimus's grip, she says, "This time, he definitely laughs." And it was interesting to watch her go through that change and realize, oh, I may have messed up here. And then our last quote, our last quote of the night is from issue number 5 from Springer, who showed up out of nowhere, not mentioned before in this series, and pops off with, to Soundwave with, "Shut up, I'm about to kill the radio star."
Did video ever definitively kill the radio star?
Which was a lot of fun because,
Nice.
Blaster's
Radio
dead. so.
killed the radio
Radio
star.
star. Yeah. You got it. I'm so proud.
All right, let's move to Rod Star rating, and let's have Hex go first. So Rod Star rating 1 through 5, and you may have a half stars as well.
How did I guess that I would go first?
Because you're the special guest in this episode.
Special guest.
Oh, gee, I'm kind of torn. Like, before I actually give my rating, I feel like there's a lot that could be not necessarily changed, but refined, I think is maybe a better word. I would love to see the series maybe expanded so there's more breathing room for these issues and volumes, because I feel like I said, everything was kind of jam-packed in. So I would have to say, I think 3 stars out of 5, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Clickbait, you're up next.
Oh my, Primus, my turn? Well, I think this set of comics is one I have enjoyed more than I have enjoyed a set of comics in a while. Coming off
We
of the
haven't
ones
been
we just
reading very
read.
many good ones recently.
So this might impact my vote a little bit, but I really enjoyed this. They dealt with a lot of topics. They still had fun. The art was amazing. There weren't any pesky humans. They did a lot with 10 issues and didn't reintroduce 8,000 bajillion new plot points. And for that reason, and the writing is also amazing, so many one-liners, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Fantastic. And Killobyte?
I enjoyed the art. I enjoyed seeing all these characters. A lot more characters, especially we saw Senator Shockwave, and I don't think we talked about him, but then they were also going to do the same process that happens to him in the normal timeline, where they were going to mess with his emotions and all that. So that was interesting. It didn't pay out, but I'm glad he was there. I enjoyed all the characters. All the destruction was something new that I wasn't expecting, like how dark these comics would get, especially with the Blaster storyline. I think that was the darkest of the ball. I did have a problem with all the inner monologues. I felt like they kept dragging and they just didn't really add much to the story for me. So I was just like, okay, let's move on to the next page. And just because of that, it's a 3.5 for me.
Interesting. We're all over the board. I'm going to come at these comics with a solid 4. I really enjoyed the art. Fantastic art. Well done. The story is pretty good. I feel like it was definitely left open for there to be more. And there were hints here and there that I feel like were obvious, and I'll talk about that next. But a solid 4, I think. I do see the internet monologues being a lot, and there's some instances where they tell and don't show, and I'm biased. I like show and don't tell. But yeah, that's the end for Rod Star rating. But listeners, what do you think of these comics? How many Rod Stars would you give it? Let us know by leaving a comment below. If you would like to get in contact with us, you can send us an email at swervesbarpodcast@gmail.com. That's SWERVESBAR podcast@gmail.com. Last part of the segment is new toys. Who wants to talk about new toys? I think we'll have Hex go first.
This new toy that I got is called, I didn't get any new toys. I don't collect toys. So this thing is kind of really not
You don't have
for
any
me.
Pyramid Head figures you want to talk about?
I
or
mean, I
anything like
do,
that? It doesn't have to be Transformers
but it's
related.
not. Okay, well, it's not. I was gonna say, like, I don't have a lot of Transformers toys, so that's not allowed for me to talk
You
about.
don't
Except,
have a lot of Transformers?
no, I
That's
do.
crazy.
I have a Chromia that was
Looks like
gifted
we
to
have to
me
get
by
you more.
Killobyte. No, it's just you gifted me a toy. You were like, "Here, have this little Chromia," and I love her very much. I have her by my custom Scorchfire figure that Onyx made me, as well as I think it's Hound. I have a Hound figure
goodness.
that I found a couple years ago because he was the first ever Transformers toy that I ever had from Transformers Cybertron.
That's correct.
He's got like the planet key, and I lost him.
Aw.
And then at my first Transformers convention, I think I found him again, and I felt overjoyed. So those are my toys.
Fantastic. Clickbait, do you have a toy to share?
I do have a toy. Thank you for emphasizing that, Onyx. Anyways, I got the APC Toys Attack Prime, which is a super duper fun, very, very shiny, articulate version of the Transformers Prime, Optimus Prime. He goes along with my Megatron Soundwave, Arachnid, and Vehicon, and he is big and shiny and pretty, and he comes with both the Star Saber and his ion cannons and a bunch of hands and an Omega key.
Accessories everywhere.
Yeah, all the accessories. And that's what I got. I love him very much.
Killobyte, what you got?
Well, last 2 episodes I mentioned that I'm the favorite because Onyx got me the steampunk screen, got me the whirl, and I have a 3rd figure that he got me, which is from the Monster Bots, which was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Repugnus. Mm-hmm. So I have Repugnus and Twinferno. So I'm only missing Grotesque, and I have them all. So thank you so much. I really like it. It's from the Titan's Return line. And I have both versions of his head, so that's pretty cool as well. So thank you so much, and I really, really enjoy the figure. Just one more.
Absolutely. Anything for my favorite.
Wow!
We're going to have to talk on it about this
Sticking
bias
with
you have.
the Shattered Glass theme, I got a Shattered Glass Starscream.
You found the boy!
I found the boy, and it did have some yellowing. However, I did some research, and I found that if you get a Sparkless Seeker and replace the black pieces from that onto the Shattered Glass Starscream, it looks both nicer and it removes all pieces that become yellow. And it looks really good. I like it. The other thing I want, it looks really good. We'll have images on the video. The other thing I want to mention about these comic series is there was a toy for each perspective that we got in this series, except for Grimlock, which was one of my indicators that I was like, oh yeah, there's definitely going to be more, but there's not. Grimlock is the only one we don't see in these comics, and we don't see a perspective. He gets mentioned, he gets name dropped, but we don't see or hear from him at all.
Yeah, and Sideswipe.
Or there's not yet.
They're not going to. They lost the license.
There's no license.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying.
Let's finish this, shall we? Are you, Clickbait and Killobyte, ready to dive into our next continuity Transformers Dreamwave Generation 1 comic?
Yes.
I am ready.
Fantastic, and thank you so much, Hex, for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
If you've enjoyed this episode, consider sharing it with your friends and subscribing. If you want to help out the show even further, we have started a Patreon. All the proceeds will go to supporting the show and keeping the lights on. Of course, we have some tiers that offer other forms of gratitude, such as 3D files and entry to our Discord channel. You'll even get early access to our comic review videos a week before their public release. We've started a Redbubble, where we have all kinds of merch for sale, ranging from pillows, stickers, shower curtains. You can get our logo, sticker art, and many other fun designs and on all kinds of apparel. And as always, we hope you are all staying safe out there. Thank you so much for listening. Till all are one.
Till all are one.
All are one.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Swerve Podcast, and even on Tumblr. Yes, with everything going on Twitter, we figured we should cover our bases. Speaking of which, you can also find us on Twitter at Swerve, if that's still a thing. If you're interested in more content, try checking out our spin-off D&D series, Transform and Roll Out. Season 3, titled Eons, is now available. Let's tune in to a preview now.
And who might you be?
You can call me Alita 1.
What happened when you left?
He betrayed us, obviously.
I betrayed nobody. You left us. You betrayed the Decepticons.
Wait. Did he just say... Okay, so she just said you betrayed us, and he just said you betrayed the Decepticons. Upon hearing this exchange, Alita 1 immediately raises her blaster and points it right at Zephyr's head.
Whoa!
Zephyr's the other one.
Come on,
sir. Looking straight at Zephyr.
Hey, point it at that one.
Yeah, I have my own plans.
Not at Zephyr. I point it was Grease who said that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it was good.
I'm learning names. So I do not. Alita 1 does not point the blaster at Zephyr. She points it straight at Grease.
Yeah.
But it's so much funnier at Zephyr.
It's a little funnier.
So much better.
She looks at you and she's like, "Oh, sorry, not you, the other one."
I'm confused with both you wearing Decepticon badges.
They're all small.
Exactly. I'm like, all you Decepticons look the same to me.
They're all small.
I walk up to him and I go, "My lord, I will fight for you. I will die for you. I will do anything for you. And to prove my loyalty, I will give a hug for you."
It's true, he doesn't give hugs very often.
Anything I laugh Wait, so I roll with advantage?
Yeah, feel free to roll with advantage.
Oh.
I'm a graceful DM sometimes.
That's also not going to hit. That's a 12.
Okay. No worries. We'll keep with the same thing we made up last time. It's all Grease's fault. Anyway.
Whoa.
We're 18 points of damage.
Wow. Sounded like Wario, but
She's still Wario.
That actually kind of sounds like Yoshi.
I'm still debating shooting the other two of you.
That is so valid.
Shoot him first.
don't kill another of my characters, please.
Well, that was certainly something. There is also a YouTube channel with bonus content, such as video games containing funny comments and trendy shorts. A link will be provided below. And if you're so inclined, you can support us on Patreon, where you can get even more bonus content, such as reading files, access to their Discord, and listen to the content before it's released to the public. More links will be provided below. End transmission.